but like, here we go. So finally it's sunny here in Minnesota, right? And it's brutal that I'm so grateful for the sun. You know, the one thing I was saying this about nature, but also the sun will always welcome you home, right? Like that's what it does. Like it's always going to be perpetually giving, right? Like whether it might get blocked, it might do a whole bunch of things, but it's never not doing its job, right? Which I like that about the sun. It's pretty faithful. So I was thinking about this morning all sorts of things, and I apologize for this quick bizarre tapestry, but so leave it to my head, right? So you ever noticed in sensationalized or pop culturized conceptions of yoga, but also just look at it Facebook, if you have friends on Facebook that are yogis, there's a preponderance of yoga occurring either on the beach or on a mountaintop, on a boulder with expansive space. And like people, the things on YouTube, and this I think is pretty interesting, the things on YouTube, but not on YouTube, on Facebook, or like the things on YouTube, pardon me, that get really popular are often like yoga on the beach. Some very fit person is on the beach and blah 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 blah. So, but I think that there's something, and I hate to, okay, so I try not to look at it, I can be a little bit cynical about such things, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but like about the idea that, see, there's the good story and the bad story, all these kind of self-indulgent things that are on Facebook. I don't know if you've noticed that there's some self-indulgent things on Facebook. I don't know if you've ever made that observation before. No, there's nothing self-indulgent on there. And yet, and so somehow, but I think there is an attempt at expression, right? There's an attempt at saying, yoga makes me feel this, like the big canyon or standing on the rock, or I feel powerful and large, blah, 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 blah. So I think that it is, and on a more sympathetic, or charitable, not sympathetic, understanding is that I get that it's an attempt to, even trite images and trite words become trite because there's truth to them, right? So the idea that there's so many people taking pictures of themselves because they want to show their yoga students in nature, I get it, right? I mean, like, I get what's happening, right? But so that's period on that. Does anyone know the song by the Cars from 1978? Let the Good Times Roll. If you don't, it's from 79. It's a great old song. I'm dating myself, but I'm okay. I'm old. I'm okay, right? I'm okay being old. Okay, so I've been thinking this morning, I woke up being so happy about the sunshine and the blue sky and the being welcomed home again, right? It's not like seeing an old friend. I'd rather have the sun in charge, not as an equal or a friend. I'd rather come home to the sun, right? So the sun is the steady and I'm the interloper, right? Whether there's clouds or not. So I was thinking about beauty and the attempt and the feeling of beauty that people feel and try to, so that's part of why they're taking pictures on Facebook like that. But they're trying to say something beautiful is occurring. And I feel it. And I get that, right? So another tapestry, so let the beauty roll is part of what I want this class to be, because I'm happy because of the sun. Okay. And I'm going to use my yoga practice to actually interact and create a receiver, i.e. me, of the sun, right? So not just the sun, right? But this has to do with beauty, because right now the beauty of the sun and the blue sky in contrast. I'm pretty happy the way nature seems to paint with different light, right? Off the white. So the good thing about the snow is that the sun becomes even brighter because there's a whole bunch of reflection going on. So everything becomes crisper because of the snow, even though I'm hating the snow. Period. Anyone see my octopus teacher? Okay, there's a hell of a thing, right? It's about a underwater photographer that basically, I think it's a year and a half or 2.5 years, I think a year and a half. He visits an octopus every single day and hangs out with it and takes video with the octopus. And it's wonderful. The documentary, it's an hour or something. It's fantastic. And the octopus ends up being a teacher to him, and the relationship forming and a whole bunch of things. When I saw that, I saw a couple other things on Nova about octopuses, man. They're unbelievable. And by the way, I thought about this morning in the shower. I thought an octopus has 8 arms, but so do their 8 limbs of yoga. So I was like, kind of going like, dang, man. So maybe we're all part of having an octopus teacher, right? Because there are 8 different threads and 8 different ways of having things that are supposed to come together and form things like love and beauty and all these things, like barfy things, but great things, right? So the line that, and I'm going to paraphrase it, I'm not going to get it right. Because the other line I want to use is from Mary Oliver, and I can't get that one right either in my head. But is that near the end of the very, like the whole movie to me, that documentary is set up for like the line where he says because boy, I'm getting choked up. I didn't expect this. The octopus has only lived for about 1.5 years, 2 years, right? So his time with the octopus means he's going to have to be around it dying too, right? Because an octopus actually gives its life to have birth for the next generation, right? So this is what the arc that this octopus is going on. And then as he's taking all this in, and all the beauty and the way that the octopus even hugs his hand one time, right? He says something that the one thing that the octopus taught me is that I'm not just as a photographer, right? You can imagine he thought of himself as an observer of nature, and that the octopus showed him that he was part of nature, that he was part of the happening, right? That of nature, that he inevitably changes nature, that he's subsumed in it. And I think there's an insight here about beauty. So what makes your poses that you do beautiful? Right? And there's a conception out there, well, it's beautiful if it's on a beach or on a rock or on a mountaintop, or it's beautiful if it's I do it really well and it's super graceful, right? What if the beauty were already here, and by being part of the happening, like the photographer was with the octopus, that the beauty's guaranteed? That doesn't mean I shouldn't work at it. I shouldn't learn to refine it, right? And get better at the manifestation of the gift of awareness in 3-dimensional form. Like asana is a cool thing, but maybe it's already here, like a coming home, right? The beauty of your asana. So sit up straight and tall. Right? Remember, I'm happy about the sunlight, the snow out my window. I almost need to wear sunglasses. It's so freaking bright in here, right? Like it's really bright. Okay. and the sky's coming in the tandem windows. So it's white, light, and blue. I'm already starting as a yogi here. I'm differentiating the different aspects and color wavelengths of beauty. So I'm going to sit here for a second before I start my yoga so one of the curses of having a mind, I mean, obviously a mind does a whole bunch of things, but in order to have a mind, you have to separate a little bit, right? In order to judge. And that's one of the curses and the prices of having the awareness of mind, right? That comes with having a mind. And so I'm starting as a yogi, taking in the different things, not just like looking at the beauty, like, oh, the snow, and oh boy, the shadows on the snow right now from the trees, freaking gorgeous right now, right? So it's like I could pay attention to beauty that way, or I could start letting in the whole cacophony of light coming at me, right? But I want to differentiate it first. There's the snow, there's the sky up the tendon, there's the green, there's the hope of green in the cedar shrub that's out my window, right? Turns out you'll take in more light if you look up, right? So depressed people tend to look down a lot, right? And they don't take enough light in. So just in the act of raising your eyes, so raise your eyes up, try to let more in. No matter, remember, it doesn't matter if you're on the beach or on a beautiful rock or in front of a beautiful scene. It's already happening, right? The beauty, it's about whether you can see it. It's not whether it's there, right? So I want to take more in, and I'm differentiating the different views right now that I have in particular out my window in the same way I pay attention to different sensations in my body, right? Remember, part of the insight is when my mind can be, when my body's in pieces, this is Iyengar again, biggest anger. When my body's in pieces, my mind can be one, right? When I can take in the beauty in its different aspects, but then let it be whole, it's going to make me want to inhale. Some of you might have just inhaled right there, right? When you can I saw a lot of you inhale on that insight, right? Because when you let the particular become whole, something else happens. Now, one of the things, if you noticed, museums and places where there's art and stuff, and like you kind of want to take in beauty where it's quiet. So if I'm in the middle of an AC/DC concert, I'm probably going to have a harder time looking at a beautiful painting, right? Because there's something about stained glass windows in churches are for right refraction in the context of silence. All spaces create a quietness that's part of the apprehension of beauty, right? So as you sit up straight and tall, allowing the cacophony that's coming at you, soften the inside of your mouth. Start creating the frame and the texture from which, does beauty make anyone else like stream water out of their eyes sometimes? It does me, right? Because all of a sudden I take in not just the beautiful thing as excitement, but the silence that makes me see the beauty. And when they come together in the cacophony of the whole, I start to just be happy and tearful because it's freaking awesome and sad, right? In The Octopus Teacher, I was very sad he was going to have to watch the octopus give its life for the next generation, right? But it made everything beautiful. So sit up straight and tall. Know that you're taking in, you're not just doing your asana on the top of a cliff to be beautiful with the sky. It only has meaning because of the cacophony, right? So let yourself be silent, soften your eyes around the temples, but then spark life through the center of your chest. It's the beauty of yoga isn't just a celebration of accomplishment, especially of asana. It is so much more. So I'm going to try to receive, but then center my receiving. So I'm going to lean forward so I can do it on balance, because I know I'm going to take in the cacophony better when I'm on balance. So bring your hands into prayer if you can. If not, use your hands on your thighs, like create more base. Don't just get lost in what you're doing. Do you know it's beautiful here? God damn, I hope you know it's beautiful here. Right? I hope you know that. It's also really sad here. It's all of the above, right? But right now, center, feel, ground, so you can receive. However, whatever you have to tell your mind in order to do that, do it. Your mind has to receive rather than be separate in order to be part of the happening. So now I'm going to have the discipline of the pressure between my hands marrying where my spine is. Find a way, whether your hands are in prayer or not, to marry your midline. Connect the center of your chest to something outside of you in the midline. Soften your jaw. As you get more intense and activate your will with the pressure between your hands, hitting down with the sitting bones, lifting your chest. Keep awareness of the skin, the bones. You are only a receiver. Such a big problem for the yogis on the top of the rock. You actually receive the beauty of a pose. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Don't get small. Feel the unchanging, which is the frame of the beauty that's around you. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Good. And then release. Let your attention and the lift in your chest drop for a second. The dropping, the beauty, the sun isn't any less beautiful when it's behind a cloud, right? So like I drop here for a second and I notice the other thing here that's not like the expansive sunlight, right? But I know that that's earth, right? That's more my source in terms of like, we're byproducts of the earth, by the way. Our minds have a hard time staying steady, right? So now I'm going to come back into the pose. I'm going to start happening again. Paying attention to the cacophony, centering the cacophony, right? My intensity and focus not to steal from the beauty that's here, right? Can I learn how to not steal? Can my pose happen and I stay a receiver, even though I'm doing? The answer is yes. It takes practice. So I'm efforting not to control what's around me, but to receive it. my attention being practiced, made particular through my effort to reconnect me to what's around me. The beauty is already here. So these words, my voice gets intense because the focus, learning to focus, one of the arms of the octopus, needs to focus me into the beauty, not control it. I hope you're liking your breath right now. Good, and then release. So when I start to apprehend, when I mean apprehend, take in that I'm part of the whole, little things start happening in my yoga pose. So I'm going to share you a little thing I've been being really happy about in my own yoga practice. Right. And it's why I keep teaching all this stuff with my hands together. But it could be with my hands in my lap too. But for whatever reason, I'm learning about the skin on my hands. I don't know. What the hell? I'm in that part of my practice now. Right. So when I do all this stuff, so the cacophony comes into a center to open back out into a bloom that's more congruent with what's around. Right. So that's what I'm doing when I'm coming into center. Right. Remember when I was teaching a couple weeks ago about pulling in to turn, like all this stuff, pull everything in, touch, ground, and expand again. That's what centering was for. The centering was not to center your own position. It was to become part of the whole. It wasn't just about you. Right? The center was for congruence. Okay, so here's a little secret that I shouldn't even be wasting your time with, except find your own analogy, right? So when I do this, what I've been noticing is that when I really get focused and I become part of the cacophony that centers through me and I get to receive it back out, when all this shit goes on at once, all of a sudden I can move the skin on my fingers a little bit and feel my legs. What? Shit. Yes. That's a good thing, a mantra. You say, what? Shit? Yes. That's a good mantra for your yoga practice going on. Like, oh my God, when I get part of the whole, my body doesn't distinguish. All of a sudden, everything's connected. And right now, I'm lengthening down the skin on my fingers and I'm activating my legs. I have no idea how the hell that is happening. Except all of a sudden, when I do that, I go, oh my God, my chest is lifting too. And all of a sudden, it starts to make sense to me. So now take this. So whatever you do, I've tried to teach you about singularity, bringing something into a singularity, letting one thing be your whole pose, right? So right now, my whole body, that's why I taught you clapping and having your whole body clap and all these things. This class is a whole bunch of weeks coming together, right? Like I'm going now, but I can't do that. You might say, bullshit, you can't do that, right? Can you quiet your mind enough to receive what's already happening? You don't have to make anything happen. It was never about you. It was about what's happening. You're unified. So I'm trying to have my hands together, my elbows on the table. I'll just do it this way now. I'll do the same thing without being able to put my hands together. And I'm wanting to make sure that the connection between my hands and the midline mirrors the center of my chest, mirrors my sitting bones, and mirrors my heels. I'm going to take the time to soften the edges of my mind so my mind doesn't have to judge so much, so I can see connections, feel connections without having to judge them. Do it. Breathe. sure your poses aren't beautiful? Have you been judging them wrong? I think so. I still do too. Good, and then release. It's not whether I can make my particular pose beautiful, it's whether I can become part of the beautiful rolling, the flow and roll of what's beautiful. And that's already guaranteed around me by the cacophony, right? It's already happening. So let's like stop all this serious stuff, except I'm making some people yawn, right? So come forward, right? Yeah, it's all right. I don't mind yawns, right? I don't mind talking smack and putting people to sleep. So now I'm lengthening my back. Why? Because it kind of feels like sunlight if I'm open enough. Why do you think I'm always talking to you about space in your back? Right? Because it could be like sunlight if you wanted it. Right? And so now I'm lengthening my arms. And so because some of you can't get this kind of base, right? You can go back. So that's, of course, I hope you start to figure out that maybe you want to, oh, there's the sunlight. Holy cow. It's a coming home. That's out through the tandem window, right? Can't block that, right? So I'm doing it here. I'm grounding my wrists on my knees, things I do all the time in front of you. And I'm becoming part of the happening. Can you? You understand that ultimately the aim of asana is a unifying sensation between you and what's around you. That's how yogis can do really complicated poses. They've mastered unity after the complexity of particular action. That's how they're balancing upside down. They're doing all sorts of weird stuff. They're able to come home to the unity despite the complexity, right? That it was never about the complexity. Come forward. I'm on my elbows now. I'm doing a different kind of prayer. I'm like actually a different kind of pose. I'm getting more active now, right? I want to pump up the strength in my midline, right? So here I'm bringing the whole world towards me, inner thighs, center of the chest, ground, bang, up. Kind of feels like upward facing dog, right? Can you feel how already it's like upward facing dog? Yeah, damn it, upward facing dog's right here, right? It's right here waiting for my will. But can I make my will not be just about my pose? Can I make it an expression of what's around me? Regardless of if I'm on a beach, right? Can I make it be, make myself be congruent? Good, and now I want, so that space in your back I want, right? So that's what I'm gonna have you leap again, like, holy cow, Matt, your words, they make me focus, get so intense. Yeah, but don't lose the playful crap. Intensity and playfulness have to go together. Otherwise, you're going to burn out, right? If you don't get enough playfulness in the intensity, you're not using all of the octopus's arms, right? You want all of the arms, right? All of the limbs. I'm taking up space. I'm going to change gravity and go up. So this is just the playful part. I'm not worried about how well my muscles come into the bone. I'm not trying to ground everything back towards the earth. I'm trying to kind of feel, and this is where the Facebook yoga pitches tend to indulge. They indulge towards the sky, right? They indulge towards the sky, but I get why. Shit, the sky feels good. Shit, I like that because mostly I'm compressing, right? So I'm going to do some things not to compress. And I'm going to train my focus not to be a compression. Can I focus without compressing my freedom? Big question for one of the arms of the octopus, right? Good, and go back over your chair and come forward, right? Can my focus come without compression? Can I stay connected to the beauty that surrounds me, even though I feel the ability to control something? right? I want these ribs open, by the way. I like these ribs, right? When these ribs open, I feel my legs. I don't know about you, right? So some of you are going to be better at this. So I have to feel open my ribs in order to get a better connection to my feet, right? But now I'm going to try to live in some of your body. I'm going to try to go from my feet to my opening ribs, right? Okay, so how am I going to get this freedom sensation that I just woke up a little bit? And then that helps me feel my base. But now I'm going to try to travel my pose in a different direction, right? Instead of being an observer of nature, I'm going to try to become part of it. So how can I get my legs to open my ribs? Shit. Got a lot of swearing on this one. Beauty makes me swear, right? Like in such a good way, because my mind's got to like have some joke about it. So those of you that can flex your legs, push down through your inner groin, your inner knee down to your feet. Okay. As you extend your toes and the soles of your feet, open your ribs. So ground the heel, lengthen the skin of your feet, and use that to buttress the levity in your rib cage. What? That's how I have to have my legs wake up my ribs. I don't get to do it through physical action. And because I don't get to do it through physical action, I think I might have an edge on a non-disabled person, on a non-paralyzed person. I think I might have an edge there. Inhale, take your right arm up. Exhale, take it around. So now I'm going to add like twisting. What the hell? So let's get a hopeful twist, right? Do you know how to twist hopefully? Right? Instead of trying to win with a twist, how do you twist hopefully? What's the relationship between the center of your chest and the sunlight or this blue sky, right? All right, so now I can get that pretty easy, that happiness here. Can I keep the earth as part of the happiness? So I'm going to make sure I stay grounded. Remember, take in the cacophony in particulars and then make it become whole again. So now I'm going to like ground down, let the center of my chest and then my eyes. I'm going to keep my eyes down until the center of my chest reaches skyward, right? So I'm going to keep my eyes down to help me follow the earth. As my chest starts to open, I'm going to look up. But as I look up, I'm going to really try not to lose the earth. I'm going to try to stay down, right? Because the center of the earth is from which I grow. Good. And then come on back. All these barfy languages. What the hell? The center of the earth from which I grow. What kind of crap is that? Except I exactly mean it, right? Inhale, take it up, right? I want the earth with me. So I'm going to go. Remember, can I have my focus without compressing my experience? Can I keep beauty and effort being simultaneous, right? So now first I'm going to touch, I'm going to let the easier part happen, right? This is why people are taking pictures on Facebook skyward, right? Because the easy part of the earned pose is this way, right? Right, so I'm going to let that touch. Now I'm going to feel that and celebrate it. I might even smile because it feels kind of happy to come home to the sun and all this stuff, right? And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm going to try to stay grounded with the earth, right? I'm going to go up, tickle the chin of the underneath side of the sky's chin, right? Because the sky probably gets lonely up there, right? Probably gets lonely up there being so expansive, right? So I'm bringing earth to the sky, right? And tickling its chin, right? With my fingertips, and I'm going across. And as I'm gonna know, I'm gonna be able to connect the center of my chest towards what's happiness up here. but I want it from the earth too. So I'm going to make sure I can stay down, right? I'm differentiating the cacophony. It's so when the down and the up reach, right? I have to earn I'm unifying to more aspects of the cacophony. Lifting the chest, rolling the shoulders back, right? Good, and then come on back to center. I will always be sad that the octopus had to die near the end of that, right? In my octopus teacher, but I'm not sure it's that sad, right? I think that in order to get the beauty of the utterance, come forward again, right? That whole documentary gets made because he sees the beauty of the octopus, the intelligence of the octopus, and the octopus is leaving, right? All that has to be part of the realization of the beauty of that film, right? So I'm going to lift my chest, hit down through my sitting bones, expand between my shoulder blades across my sacrum, use that to roll my inner upper thighs in and down and press down through my heels. See, if you try to do that physically, you're going straight to hell. I win, right? Because I can feel the energy. Can you? That's why I practice. I practice not just prove what I can do. I practice so I can feel, right? That's why I practice. So the beauty of what's around me with the sunlight, I can actually receive on all of its levels. So I'm doing an incredible yoga pose right now, and it looks like I'm hanging out. I mean, it's like it looks like I'm just hanging out on the table here, right? Doing stuff. I'm doing an incredible freaking yoga pose right now, right? And then you know what the final part of it is? To release to the cacophony while I'm focusing on my efforts. Don't just release with your mind. Stay with the earth so the lift in your chest can spread the space in your chest into the space around you while keeping it grounded, and receive everything in a way that includes your focus. The best things in life are earned. That relationship with the octopus was earned because it was lost. Good, and then release. Dang. You mean the joy here just doesn't get to travel in one direction? Absolutely not. Can you believe that we often cry from joy? What an amazingly cool thing that human beings do, right? That joy, I'm going wide here, right? That joy can also conjure tears, right? So I'm taking up space. So I don't know about you, but in order to balance, when I take my arms wide, I tend to tense my neck to hold myself in place, right? So on this, and by doing that, I'm blocking the cacophony a little bit. Wide again, and so this time I'm going to do it. You know how I knew that? I was holding my arms wide before, and I started to feel a muscular spasm, right? Because something was gripping too hard, right? But I don't want to dissipate into nothingness. I want to see if I can separate instead of compressing my head, right? I want to see if I can have my arms wide and keep my neck long. I think I can. Holy cow, I think I can. Especially if I let myself feel it. So now I'm going to do a weird thing I do sometimes to my own yoga pose. I'm going to try to put traction on my own neck, right? I'm going to grab my head and I'm going to lengthen it. I'm lifting my head. I'm trying to I imagine I'm trying to, like a chest pass in basketball, like that. Try to do it with your own head. Like throw your head up towards the ceiling. Grab it in the right places. Lengthen your own neck. Wait, you mean I could do this and find where my elbows are and my sitting bones and my feet? Oh, yes, I can. Right? Oh, and can anyone tell when you do that? I got more shortness on one side, right? On one side of my neck. I'm going to try to do a yoga pose that doesn't activate that shortness. I'm going to do it again. Why? Because I'm taking in the particulars of the cacophony. Right? I'm going to, oh no, now that just brought me to the freedom of the earth. Whew, I have to close my eyes because I'm now getting in the better balance. So get into the best balance you can and now open your eyes towards the sky. Let it in. Good, and then release. Ooh. See, I'm a head tilter, right? Because of my scoliosis. So this side's always short, right? I could bum out about that, but when I get it to go long, holy cow, this feels like freaking beauty to me. When I get something that's compressed to get freedom in it again. So if you got a space in your body, like I'm asking you to do this now so I can continue doing what I'm doing to myself, right? Find this place in your body that needs more freedom, wherever it is. Maybe it's your neck, right? And make it so, number one, like just make it. Oh my God, I'm just gonna let this in for a second. I'm gonna let it in, find the earth with my sitting bones and my feet. I'm gonna open my eyes, open my chest, and go skyward with it. And I'm gonna breathe. Holy cow. You know what's crazy about this is it's making me sweat. This means it's energy that I haven't received in a long time. Right? And then release. Whew. Holy cow. Is this where the beauty is? Absolutely. I'm coming forward again. I'm going to lengthen my back. Huh. Why? Because I'm trying to take this energy and ground it in my spine. I'm not going to waste the water. Right? That length of my neck was like water. In fact, it took my water. I didn't just start sweating, I got thirsty. Whew. Good golly. Do you know we're not here without water, right? We don't make it without water. Yeah. We're not conscious without water because our mind burns water. When your mind finally joins the bus, gets on the bus, it burns water. All right, more fun now, right? So I want to take up more space because I don't want all these damn existential truths to be getting in the way of my yoga practice, for God's sakes. If I'm taking my legs wide to feel to the four corners of everything. And at first, I'm going to be like a displeased mom and I put my hands on my hips and go, okay, there's where my center is. Wait, as soon as I do that, I lose connection to the outer edges of the four corners of everything, right? So I want to have everything. So I'm going to let myself get bigger and even feel my fingertips and stuff, right? Where my knees are, where my feet are, because I'm trying to make a connection between where I am and the four corners of everything, right? Oh, you know what I can tell right now? I don't know if you can tell things like this while you're sitting in your pose, but I'm not reaching the four corners of everything because I'm not free enough right here, right? On this side of my neck. So I'm going to try to do this four corners of everything again. And I'm knowing that this needs to have more freedom in it. I don't know what part of your body needs to have more freedom in order for you to touch the four corners of everything, but figure it out. Your body's different than mine, but your neck's a good place, by the way, to figure out how to touch the four corners of everything, right? So I'm going to get bigger here. I'm going to try to release enough to get to the four corners of everything, which makes me smile. I like the four corners of everything. And so now I'm going to try to get my neck to be receiving the four corners of everything. Because this side of my neck's been left alone to do too much work, right? It's tired, right? And so I'm going to be in the four corners of everything, like on the top of a cliff here, you know, like on a rock or, right? Now I'm going to come back and find the grounding of my hips. Here's the earth with my legs wide. I hope you can see my legs wide. right? Because I get the bamboo behind me, right? So now I'm keeping this sensation here beyond my fingertips, trying to make sure my head isn't compressed, that I don't compress the freedom here in my body, right? Touch the four corners, and I keep this sensation of expansion. Make sure there's earth in it. And as soon as I hit on my hips, I lift my sternum. I don't know about you, but it's my body's more twisted than most of yours. Like, as soon as I ground my hips, my neck gets free. Right? God, I like that. Okay, so I'm going to keep this sensation, use my memory to conjoin it with this sensation. So if you do this pose at home and you live with somebody, have someone pin your hips when you're doing this. But you've got to be able to register the cacophony. Good, and then release. So often when I'm teaching yoga teachers how to teach like this, they actually think their mind gets too particular when we ground them with physical reference, right? We try to show them how expansion requires the midline. Expansion requires the earth in order to touch the sky, right? But they think it's about how they're pressing on the hips. And no, it's about the midline showing you the cacophony. Take your arms wide again. Touch everything. Use your skin. So you're sitting bones, your feet, you're grounding, right? You're doing all the things to ground, but you're making sure you're touching to the four corners of everything. You're grounding your sitting bones simultaneously. And then to help the grounding, right? Come in and touch near the life force of your spine, the base of your spine. Ground it, find the freedom of that. There's freedom here, right? There's freedom here when I ground, when I return to the earth, right? And then I'm going to go back and combine the sensations, right? So I'm using my focus and memory to combine more of the cacophony into an action. Good, and then release. The problem is, I'm going to come back to the midline because I always have to find the midline again. The problem is when I just don't make the pose harder and more complex, my mind tends to get bored with what it thinks it already knows. So I'm moving around again a little bit. So I'm trying, because I want this pose to have lightness in it, because I'm trying to get to see the cacophony, which is first takes a lot of focus, right? So now I'm got the midline again. I'm gonna go wide again, right? I'm gonna try to stay. Gonna do it in reverse now. I'm gonna stay with the with the grounding. Get my neck lighter, because as soon as I take my arms wide, I'm gonna lose my neck. It's gonna tighten up, I can tell. I'm gonna try to keep that loose and take my arms wide. If I stay here too long, I'm gonna get bored. So I think the yogis developed asana because they were bored, right? They wanted to prove they could feel it. So now I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna come forward here a little bit. Try not to have my feet make me go flying. I got a little table over here, right? Half in the sunlight, half in the dark. I wonder if that's not a good metaphor, right? All right, so now I'm gonna try to be everywhere, to the four corners of everything while staying grounded. And then I'm just gonna screw up gravity. I'm gonna lean over, right? Remember, you're always trying to return to the sunlight of yoga realization. So can I refine what I just had when I'm off gravity? In order to do all this, I'm going to have to feel earth, the sky, my midline, and breathing. Remember, and then when I do all that, no matter how well I do it, no matter if my arm's here or here, right? I'm gonna call it beautiful because I'm touching the four corners of everything, right? And then release. And rather than turn my table around, I'm gonna turn myself around and do the same pose the other direction. I recommend this a lot in your own yoga practice, right? Don't always face the same way. So I'm going to go the other way. Now I can't see you, so I don't know what you're seeing. So I'm feeling a little vulnerable here. But this way I don't have to move the table. Right? So oh my God, there's some sore things in my elbow. Holy cow. All right, so I'm trying to touch the four corners of everything. Now I've got a different part of the beauty in my eyes. Breathing. Earthing. Skying. Releasing. Asserting. Good, and then release as all part of the cacophony. Did y'all turn around? I'm the only one that turned around? Holy cow. I'm not sure I agree with that level of participation from all of you. That might have bugged me. Look, you just kind of like, can I trust you anymore? I don't know. Of course I can, right? Coming back into the midline. So I wonder, perhaps like doing the yoga on a beach or on a boulder overlooking an expanse makes my poses more beautiful. But in fact, I don't know about you, but if I'm on a boulder looking over a canyon, I might not have my mind fully on my own yoga. Might be thinking about a big gust of wind. Might be feeling a little bit, right? But maybe the surroundings can make me open better to what I can receive. So it was never about the surroundings. That was just for my own mind's inspiration. What it reveals is the connection. And my mind apparently sometimes needs the blue sky, needs the white snow and the shadows moving on the top of the snow. Because maybe it allows the beauty around me allows my mind to surrender to where the real beauty is, which is in being part of the story. Not a particular story, the story. And there's hardship there too. The octopus dies and lives and changed that guy's life forever. I'm down with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with the cacophony, not just the mental indulgence. Good. I hope you know that yoga poses don't always feel good, right? Part of the cacophony is that they suck sometimes, right? They're earned, just like everything, right? All right, so prepare yourself for Shavasana. So I'm going to get lighter again because I just got focused again on the octopus's story. So I'm going to lighten up my body a little bit. I'm going to make sure I don't lose the gain over here, the freedom over here. Want that to be grounded in in this next shavasana. I'm going to pay attention to the beauty over time. Right? I'm going to try to bring it with me. Start to let go. Let your mind receive, so your body doesn't have to be held on the other side of the door. Our minds keep our bodies away from it. Lips together, teeth slightly apart. Quiet of Shavasana frames where you've traveled to in this class. Feel your breath, don't change it. Start to bring yourself back. You can travel from inside out. There's space there. So when you're ready, open your eyes and let the light in again. And then close them and go back to where you just were. And then travel as your eyes open and the light comes in. Just for a second, be grateful. Not for anything in particular, although you could be. Could be for the external breathing. Right? Grateful for the connection. If you need something to be grateful for. Got a lot to do this week. I don't know about you. It's a good place to start it from, actually, to return to remember. All right. So one of the things there's so many things I've learned from Shavasana, right? Well, one of them that is really important is that even when there is an input coming from the world around me towards my brain, even when it's reduced, or at least there's the input, but it's way reduced. Even in that sense of disconnection, there's light in my life force. The beauty already is there before I open my eyes. That's an unbelievable thing to realize. That Shavasana was beautiful before your senses, right? The feeling of it. All right, everybody, hands together. Namaste. Spirit in me bows the spirit in you.